If you're like me, you'll use any large flat surface in the shop as a workbench. But if you're not careful, it's going to lead to glue, gunk, and rust on your cast iron top. Your table saw is a big investment and needs to be cared for. Today, I'm going to show you how to refurbish and maintain it. And it all starts with a carbide scraper and a putty knife. I'm going to use the putty knife first to knock off these glue spots. Then I'm going to use the scraper to work on this built-up stain that was spilled. If you find that the finish is being a little stubborn, you can bring in some naphtha or lacquer thinner and wipe it off with that. Now that you have all the gunk removed, you can start working on the rust and oxidation. And I found that using these abrasive blocks from Sandflex work really well on your cast iron top. They look like they'd be hard like a pumice stone, but it's actually a silicone impregnated rubber, so it's flexible. And you can see as I start sanding, they work really well, and as the rubber wears away, there's more silicone underneath, so it just keeps going. It's like a rust eraser. So I've taken care of that spot pretty well. I'm going to expand out onto the oxidation on the rest of the top here. Might take a little bit of elbow grease. You can see I'm always sanding with the grain. And you might say, metal doesn't have grain. But what I mean is you're always sanding in the same direction. And the direction usually is the direction of wear. So as you're feeding your workpiece through the saw, you're going to be wearing in the, vertical direction here. So you want to stay in that direction. If you start sanding in all directions, you're going to have scratches everywhere. All right, that's pretty good with that. I'm going to move on to a cork sanding block, and then I'm going to use 400 grit wet dry paper. I'm going to lubricate it with WD-40. Again, I'm going to sand with the grain here, and I'm going to take long strokes. So usually I'd be sanding the whole table saw here and the whole length, but I really don't want to do the whole thing, so I'm only going to do half of it. As you can see, it's kind of created a black slurry with the metal shavings and the WD-40, but that wipes up pretty easily. So once I have that sanded pretty well, I'm going to move on to using a finish sander with an abrasive pad on the bottom. So now I have it all buffed out, and I'm going to get it one final wipe down. Get all that gunk off. As you might see, you probably see a little discoloration here where it had the severe rust from the water ring. You know what? You're probably not going to get that out. That's just going to be a scar you're going to have to deal with. And think about the mistakes you've made in your life. So now that we're down to the kind of bare metal here, it's actually going to be more susceptible to rust now that we've taken all that oxidation off. So you should probably hit it with either a dry lubricant or just some common paste wax. I'm going to use the paste wax because it's just what I have around the shop. So I'm going to charge the rag a little bit here. Just kind of coat that on there. The paste wax is going to give it a little bit of protection from moisture and prevent any future oxidation. So we'll wipe that in and kind of buff it back out. Once you get this all buffed out with the wax, your pieces are actually going to slide across your table saw a lot smoother. I've been working here with just a sample piece that I had laying around, but let's take a look at the table saw that I was working on earlier. As you can see, I've taken the time to refinish our entire table saw top, and it's looking good, but I know I'm going to come back to this and use it as a work surface again. So I've invested in a sheet of 1/4-inch hardboard cut to fit the top of my table saw. That's going to keep all the gunk and water and everything off of it when I'm working on it. It's just a few simple steps that you can take to maintain your table saw and keep it running smoothly.